MARTA passengers who depend on MARTA's mobility services to get to vital destinations like doctor's appointments say they're missing some of those trips or facing delays. Meanwhile, the leaders of the region's transportation services say everything is just fine. Welcome to Behind the Investigation with Atlanta News First. I'm Chief Investigator Brendan Keefe, and I'm joined now by investigative reporter Sierra Cummings. Hi, Sierra.
Hi, I'm happy to be here.
Tell us about this story.
So, this story is about MARTA Mobility. And if you have never used it before, it's the short, smaller buses that MARTA offers. And basically, it's a service that has to exist in order for MARTA to get grant money, federal funding, all of that. And it provides transportation for people who have some form of disability. Maybe they're just facing a temporary injury. Either way, if they have some sort of handicap, they're able to use that service. And we got several complaints from riders saying it's an unreliable service. So, of course, we want to figure out if this was isolated or was it a pattern. So, watch the story and you judge for yourself.
Think this the bus. Hello?
Isaiah King takes a phone call. On the other end, an automated message from MARTA Mobility confirming his pickup time.
Supposed to be on time.
Isaiah is blind with failing kidneys plus pulmonary hypertension, a condition which can affect your heart and lungs. It's why he's on oxygen, and it's why he relies on MARTA Mobility, transportation funded by local taxes and federal dollars, a crucial and free service for people who are disabled, injured, deaf, or blind. Isaiah's health conditions mean many medical appointments, like the one he's headed to right now, dialysis. So with help, he gets into his wheelchair to make his way downstairs for his 10:15 MARTA pickup time. Isaiah waits, and waits.
We're so unimportant to the process. And they just come when they feel like coming.
Until he says he cannot wait anymore.
I had to order Uber to get to dialysis. I mean, they act like it's an option, but dialysis is mandatory. It's life altering. We can't not go.
Despite that 10:15 pickup time, the MARTA Mobility bus did not arrive until about 11 a.m. Isaiah already leaving in his Uber.
I'm not going to wait because I have done that and be stranded.
Atlanta News First investigates obtained performance data which shows cases like Isaiah's or missed trips occurred at least 2,200 times last year, less than 1% of the time. Do you trust the data?
No.
Although the data shows a year-to-year decrease of drivers missing trips, Isaiah questions which incidents are actually being counted as missed trips. According to agency policy, when MARTA Mobility fails to pick up a passenger within 30 minutes of their assigned pickup time, it's deemed a missed trip. But Isaiah alleges he's gotten mailed letters which state otherwise. Instead, the letters accuse him of being a no-show. Passenger no-shows climbed nearly year to year. Since 2023, about 13,000 total. If a rider has excessive no-shows, they face suspension.
And I never understand how you're going to suspend somebody that is dependent on you, whether it's dialysis or whether it's whatever medical appointment. How can you suspend them when they need you?
MARTA interim CEO Jonathan Hunt. Can the missed trip data actually be trusted?
One, the data can be trusted. Two, I would love to know who this individual is. You can give us give us his name if you're willing to share that with us so that we can follow up to see if there's some misunderstanding. Our missed trips are very strictly defined. That's a missed trip on us. That's not a no-show on the patron.
It shouldn't be a no-show on the patron.
It is not a no-show on the patron.
Okay, we'll get his information to you.
If there is a misunderstanding, it will be corrected.
With Isaiah's permission, we shared his contact information with the CEO. Missed trips are not the only concern, but also the delays to actually book a MARTA Mobility pickup. To reserve a trip, riders have to call in. Records show callers waited 16 minutes on average to get someone on the line for help. To meet agency standards, the wait time must not exceed 2 minutes. So we know that's not meeting target. So what are you doing to improve that?
Well, RideCo is one, so we're freeing up more people instead of having to do bookings and actually enter in trips and track trips to free them up to interface with customers directly.
RideCo, MARTA's new solution to improve performance. Instead of calling in to schedule a trip, riders will use the app. It'll handle scheduling and dispatching buses, allowing passengers to book, cancel, and track trips. Hunt argues this will further streamline operations, minimizing delays and maximizing more time for customer care.
MARTA Mobility specifically, we want to get the on-time performance, which is that hitting that window down even further. We want to drive that number down. We also want to drive care up.
Isaiah just hopes he doesn't have to wait much longer.
And I do really, really, really feel overlooked. And I feel like there's no care in the service they're providing right now.
So, Sierra, has Mr. King heard back from MARTA?
At the time of our story, he had not heard back from MARTA. If you were watching, we had a little bit of a back and forth with the MARTA CEO who basically said he was going to reach out to the folks in this story and any other person that reached out to Atlanta News First to get their situation resolved. Now, there is an optimistic way of looking at that, like, wow, the top man in the company wants to talk to the passengers, when really the passengers aren't demanding to talk to the MARTA CEO. They just want the system to work. And so we know he said he was going to reach out to Mr. King, but at the time of our reporting, Mr. King had not heard back from MARTA. And he wasn't alone. There were two other names we gave to MARTA. And it's just been really frustrating for those passengers because, as we showed in the story, the data is saying one thing, but the passengers say they're experiencing something else. There has been a decline over the last 3 years of delays. So you could argue there has been some success and improvement. In fact, that's what MARTA is saying. We've done really well post pandemic. And they're highlighting that those 2023 record highs of delays and missed trips because of staffing shortages and all of that associated with the pandemic. But they've said, they've done a lot in the past few years, and the math shows it. But you have writers like Isaiah King who say, I can't trust that data because on the day to day, when I need to get to my dialysis appointment, when I need to get to something that my life requires to meet, this is not me just hanging out at the mall or the grocery store. Like, I really need to get to this appointment. I'm left stranded several times. I do want to pull the curtain back here. When I had checked in with Mr. King multiple times after this story ran to see if he heard back from MARTA, he hadn't, but he had to schedule MARTA several other times for his dialysis appointments, and there were a couple hiccups. On that end where he was sitting and couldn't actually get on the bus. And so we reached out to MARTA again. So it'll be interesting to see what these long-term fixes will look like in the future.
Well, it really comes down to reliability. And, the key word or sort of the root word of that is rely. If you can't rely on these services, there's an old saying, even a broken clock is right twice a day. If it's stuck at 2:05, it's 2:05 p.m., 2:05 a.m., it's right twice a day. So even if they're getting better, if you can't rely on that to get to the appointment, how many of us have showed up late to an appointment, especially for something like dialysis, and they can't fit you in? So what's the solution here?
And to your point, I'm going to give the CEO some credit here. He said, even if the math is showing that we've had some successes, but we have people reaching out to Atlanta News First, talking about the horrors of their journeys, the delays and the missed trips, that's just one person too many. And so they have this goal of being the best transit provider in the nation. And that is a tall goal, and we'll have to wait and see. In the meantime, they have that app that we mentioned in the story, so we can talk about it a little further. It's the RideCo platform. So they're partnering with another company to basically streamline services. Here's something you might not realize if you've never used paratransit. When a rider or passenger wants to book a trip for wherever they're going, the doctor's appointment, to go to a family's home, the mall, grocery store, they have to call in. They don't text in, they don't email, they have to actually call. Someone, a human, picks up on the other end and works with them to schedule the trip. MARTA is saying that's kind of creating this bottleneck throughout the system because we have to have humans picking up each call, helping each individual passenger, and that slows everything down. So with this new platform, they can actually free up some of their human workers. It'll be easy for people to actually schedule electronically using tech. And then, of course, if they have customer service needs, they can actually get a human on the other end of the line. So that's their big solution here, using new tech to streamline services so that people don't actually have to call and wait on an actual dispatcher to help with that. So that's being rolled out as we speak. As of today, we're in the second week of March. It doesn't seem to have been the main source of scheduling yet, but they say it's rolling out this spring. So we look forward to seeing how that changes things over the coming weeks. A big point is that they've recruited and retained staff. That's what they're saying. They don't have nearly as many staffing shortages as they did a few years ago. And so they say they aggressively recruit, and not just on site by holding fairs, but going to other locations across the city and throughout our metro counties to look for more bus operators. And so that's something that they're really prioritizing this year to make sure they have enough people so there aren't as many delays and missed trips.
Since this is behind the investigation, Sierra, two questions sort of related. Have you heard from other riders and other people who rely on paratransit since this story? And really, the first question is, how did you find out about this?
Well, we have a tip line. So if you ever want to reach out to us, you can go to atlantanewsfirst.com, and there is a way to reach out to the investigative team. You can also just go to our own direct bio pages, and you can see my email there. We got several tips to our tip line about MARTA Mobility, and I hadn't thought much about MARTA Mobility recently. So when I saw several of those tips coming, I'm like, wait, what's going on here, and who's actually in charge of MARTA Mobility? Is it actually MARTA? Do they have a third-party contractor? So I had to dig a little further, but it initially started with folks just reaching out to us through that email tip line. And of course, when you get complaints, you want to fact check. You're like, okay, I've got these 3, 4, okay, now 5 people. Let me actually look through data. And so we look through their fiscal reports, their annual audits, and went from there. And since this story has run, we've gotten several people that have called in and left voicemails letting us know that this is a big deal and we need to stay on it. So we will.
Yeah, of course, you don't think about paratransit till you need it, but when you do stories like this, it helps bring attention to the issue and also gets MARTA to try to fix it. Thanks so much, Sierra Cummings, investigative reporter. I'm Chief Investigator Brendan Keith, and you've been watching Behind the Investigation with Atlanta News First Investigates. Thanks for tuning in to Behind the Investigation with Atlanta News First Investigates. For more on this story, go to atlantanewsfirst.com and click on the ANF Investigates tab. You can listen to more award-winning investigations wherever you get your podcasts by searching Behind the Investigation with Atlanta News First. And tune in Sundays for an hour-long episode of Uncovered, where we highlight some of our biggest investigations that impact our communities.